no chase I need, no chase I need, no chase I need, no message. Message.
And so the march was in march of honor of Jimmy Lee. Mm-hmm. They was just marching to the bridge. They wasn't going from Selma to Montgomery. Mm-hmm. That's why the world wasn't there. The world didn't know the march was going on. The press knew. So when the press showed those pictures, it went around the world. So how is it white folks can slide history around? And let me tell you that when they attacked on the bridge was not a march for votes. It was in sympathy of Jimmy Lee Jackson. Huh?
There was an individual by the name of Jimmy Lee Jackson who was a part of the night march in Marion, Alabama, which is not far from Selma. His grandfather, K.J. Lee, and his mother were part of the demonstration. There was a police riot, and the state troopers started to beat people, and they chased a bunch of folks into a local cafe, and state troopers assaulted Jimmy Lee Jackson's mother. He came to her aid, and they shot him, and eventually he stumbles out of the cafe and dies. And James Bevel, who's working with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference at SCLC, recommends that they take the body of Jimmy Lee Jackson and walk it up Highway 80 and place it at the steps of the state capitol as a protest against the policies of Alabama, but also of Governor Wallace. That idea morphs into what becomes the Selma to Montgomery March. Message.
Surprisingly, as they walked through the center of town, there were no police in sight. The route out of Selma crossed over the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Waiting on the other side were Alabama state troopers, under orders from Governor Wallace to stop the marchers. Clark's posse was on the sideline.
It'll be detrimental to your safety to continue this march, and I'm saying that this is an unlawful assembly. You have to disperse. You are ordered to disperse, go home, or go to your church.
We line up in twos.
This march will not continue.
To walk from Selma to Montgomery.
We're marching today to dramatize to the nation, dramatize to the world, that hundreds and thousands of Negro citizens of Alabama, but particularly here in the Black Belt area, denied the right to vote.
I was wearing a backpack before it became fashionable to wear backpacks. I thought I was going to get arrested and go to jail, so in this backpack, I wanted to have something to eat. I had one apple and one orange. I had 2 books. I had toothpaste and a toothbrush. But we understood while we were walking through the streets of Selma that the sheriff of Selma and Dallas County had requested that all white men over the age of 21 to come down to the courthouse that Saturday night to be deputized, to become part of his posse. We just kept walking. We come to the highest point on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Down below, we see a sea of blue, Alabama state troopers. We saw all of this water down below in the Alabama River. Jose Williams said to me, "John, can you swim?" I said, "No, Jose, what about you?" He said, "A little." I said, "Well, there's too much water in this river for us to jump. We must go straight ahead." A man by the name of John Cloud identified himself and said, "I'm Major John Cloud the Alabama State Troopers.
Be detrimental to your safety to continue this march, and I'm saying that this is an unlawful.
This was an unlawful march, would not be allowed to continue.
You are ordered to disperse, go home, or go to your church.
Disperse and return to your homes or to your church. I said, Major, may I have a word? He said, there will be no word. You saw these men putting on their gas masks. He said, troopers advance.
Troopers here, advance.
They came toward us, beating us with nightsticks, trampling us with horses, releasing tear gas.
This march will not continue. Is that clear to you? I've got nothing further to say to you.
$70 million people are watching this.
The first 10 or 20 Negroes were swept to the ground, screaming, arms and legs flying. Packs and bags went skittering across the grassy divider. Those still on their feet retreated. A cheer went up from the white spectators lining the south side of the highway. The troopers continued pushing, using both the force of their bodies and the prodding of their nightsticks. Suddenly there was a sharp sound like a gunshot, and a gray cloud spewed over the troopers and the Negroes. But before the cloud hit it all, there were several seconds of unobstructed view. 15 or 20 nightsticks could be seen through the gas, flailing at the heads of the marchers. The Negroes cried out as they crowded together for protection, and the whites on the sidelines whooped and cheered.
Across the South, suppression tactics like literacy tests and poll taxes are widely used to prevent black citizens from voting. In Selma, local activists have been fighting these illegal measures for decades. In 1965, the national movement joins their fight.
Selma was a city about 36,000 people at the time I was growing up. It was a city that was dominated by the white power structure. It was a city where black people had no rights. This was a vicious, violent system against people of African descent. You could die trying to register to vote, and wasn't nobody gonna do anything about it.
Like Bull Connor in Birmingham, Sheriff Jim Clark has Selma under tight control. To prevent marches and mass protests, he issues a citywide injunction prohibiting the public assembly of groups larger than 3 people.
Every time we marched, there was a possibility that we would never see our mama again.
I think a lot of us feared for safety. But when you place the fear of safety in the midst of the practice of oppression, you don't have much choice.
Local activist Amelia Boynton has been leading the grassroots movement, fighting for voters' rights in Selma.
Mrs. Boynton had been registering voters since 1932, and she's one of the unsung heroes of this movement. It was at her request that we came to Selma. The churches that tried to have voter registration meetings, Jim Clark wouldn't let anybody in. And he had literally created a police state.
This courthouse does not belong to Sheriff Clark. This courthouse belongs to the people of Dallas County, and these are the people of Dallas County, and they have come to register. You must realize that this is a national issue. It's not a Selma issue. It's not an Alabama issue. This is a national issue.
The SCLC intends to make this injustice an issue the nation can't ignore. 500 protesters with activist John Lewis in the lead set out for the Capitol. But just across the bridge, Sheriff Clark is waiting with an army of deputies.
Once you get to the apex of the bridge, there ain't no turning back. You got to go now. You got to move. So you can't walk down there scared. And so we kept on walking. And we got down to the bottom of the bridge.
When they told us to stop, you can see the horses. You can see them. They were ready. Their shoes was shiny, they had everything. Nobody expected Sunday to be bloody because the cameras was there, the whole world was watching.
We thought they were going to be arrested, but instead, Sheriff Clark rode through the crowd on horseback, beating people.
John Lewis and them said, let's get on our knees and pray. And as we was praying, that's when you heard them gas caps open up. And when you heard them open up and you open your eyes, went up with that white gas all around you. Then they said, y'all got to get out of here. A couple of people was hurt. Some people went directly to the hospital.
Selma organizer Amelia Boynton is among those brutally beaten on the bridge, knocked unconscious by a billy club.
We thought she was dead. The reason we thought she was dead because they put her on a hearse and take her to the hospital.
CBS interrupted the showing of Judgment at Nuremberg on that Sunday night to show those peaceful protesters being beaten on that bridge. It woke up many parts of America that had turned away from fully understanding what the fight for equal rights was really all about.
Make sure you hit the thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comment section. Please follow the History with No Chaser Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram pages.